J-Man from MusicMarauders.com here with Sam Bush. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Hey Jay, glad you've weathered the storm.
Yeah, we got a little wet over at Bill Keith's teepee over there. So, you've been playing mandolin since a young age. What drew you to the instrument?
Well, I mean, it's hard to know why that instrument. Like asking Jerry Douglas, why the dobro? What appealed to you about that? I grew up in a musical household. My mom and dad were fans of music, and we lived approximately 60 miles north of Nashville, Tennessee, up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So we got good enough reception when my dad would climb on the roof. We grew up on a farm outside Bowling Green to get the Nashville TV stations going. So I had the advantage of living in a household where my mother played guitar, my father played the fiddle and a little bit of mandolin.
Mm-hmm.
So music was part of our household, and so my parents were tremendous music fans, and they got us kids involved in it too. Two of my sisters sang folk music back when the folk boom was hit, and I was born in 1952.
Mm-hmm.
So my father would buy these fiddle records by a great Grand Ole Opry musician named Tommy Jackson. So Tommy was the main fiddler you would hear on the Grand Ole Opry, and he played on all these countless classic country records, the Ray Price records, and all this great country stuff Tommy would do. And he made these square dance music records. And on the Tommy fiddle records would be a mandolin playing along. For some reason, the sound of the fiddle and the mandolin together obviously has defined some of the things I love about music as a fiddle and mandolin player. And but the mandolin was what I really paid a little more attention to. So I started learning fiddle tunes on the mandolin by the mandolin player on the Tommy Jackson records. Later, I was to find out it was played by the great country jazz guitar player Hank Garland.
Really?
Sugarfoot Garland played the mandolin on these records, and the man that told me that, his name was Ray Evanston. Ray played rhythm guitar on these records, and I was just old enough that I got to play some sessions with Ray when I first got down to Nashville and started getting in on some recording sessions, and he told me that it was Hank Garland. So right off the bat, my style is revolved around a guy that doesn't even play mandolin. Go figure that one out. So I'm copying a guy that doesn't even play the mandolin. But if anything, because he had a different approach, it was a great way to look at it differently.
Sure.
And then after that, then I learned about players like Bill Monroe and Bobby Osborne and Jesse McReynolds, and then after that, Jethro Burns.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool that I didn't start with bluegrass, but I embraced it because I realized how much I loved the sound of a mandolin, and that's where great mandolin players were in the world of bluegrass.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I name some of the top bands from the genre, like Newgrass Revival, Strength in Numbers, Bluegrass All-Stars, all at the root of these bands are you, Sam Bush. What drove you so heavy what drove you to jump in so deeply and so heavy into that progressive genre and that progressive style of playing?
It really is a matter of, growing up around bluegrass style music or country music in general. It really this is music about playing it the way you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously certain things are traditionally handed down, certain styles. So I learned certain fiddle tune styles, but also at the same time, you guys realize that while I was watching, country music shows and Grand Ole Opry shows as a kid, I was also watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I'm first generation that got to see the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Doors and Hendrix and the Cream and Jefferson Airplane. I was a huge Jefferson Airplane fan. And so at the same time I was loving bluegrass, I was also, when I was in high school, playing electric guitar in rock bands. Somewhere along the line I picked it up. So when I was a kid, I'd be the youngest guy in every bluegrass band. But then when I played a rock and roll band, I'd be the oldest one. Sometimes the only one that was old enough to drive to the gigs.
Sure.
So it was all just music to me. And I think it still kind of works that way in my mind, that I don't really think about type of music or a genre of music it is. It just either appeals to me or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can be watching, we're in a tour bus now, what we may be watching is 1 minute we're watching Jeff Beck live at Ronnie Scott's, and the next minute we're watching these old Flat and Scruggs shows that I was actually watching when I was a kid. So it's all just the one big part of music, and so those influences just come through. And so
Absolutely.
that's, you know, it's what we do is, you know, play a contemporary style music on, you know, traditional instruments. John Hartford made a statement once that I think about it all the time, and it says, what a thrill it is to put new strings on an old instrument.
Yeah, I like that. Can you talk a little bit about the Sam Bush Band and what you're doing currently?
Absolutely. Well, especially on this last CD, Circles Around Me, although we, as we play, and what you'll probably hear us do tonight at Great Fox, kind of combination of acoustic music and electric music. But we kept it all acoustic for the most part on this new record, and I've got a wonderful bunch of musicians I get to play with. We have a new member, Todd Parks, has just joined up here in the last few months on bass. Todd plays the upright bass fiddle, like a champ, as well as electric bass guitar. So it's interesting being able to have them for different purposes throughout the course of the show.
Sure.
And he's a fine singer. Stephen Mogen, our guitar player, acoustic and once again electric guitar. So sometimes we vary the show. I don't know if he'll play electric tonight. But he's a wonderful singer, and he was actually my vocal coach on the new record.
Really?
Yes, because he is a University of Massachusetts vocal major, and you know, so he's been a teacher. He's been a guy that, you know, literally puts on plays and stuff. You know?
Sure, yeah.
So he just helped me a lot, just get more out of what I'm capable of doing as a singer. I'm fairly limited in my range, and so Stephen helped me do that. So he's actually a very good mandolin player, so you're not going to hear that.
Yeah, you can.
No need mandolin for him. And then Scott Vestal, our banjo player, is just so wonderful in that it's the only time I've ever played full time with a banjo player that if you want just great Scruggs or J.D. Crowe style playing, boy, he can do that if you want to. Or he can improvise and play as progressively as anyone that I've ever met, and it's inspirational playing with him. There's some tunes where he and I don't want to plan out too much as we sort of intermingle our improvisations, because we don't want to plan it out. It could go
See where it goes.
Yeah. And our drummer is a wonderful musician, Chris Brown. And Chris is so cool because, especially on our new record, we were trying to play more in a bluegrass, newgrass style. And there's just some tunes you really don't even notice that Chris is playing. And that's to his credit, because and other tunes, you know, we want him to stand out more. And so he's just so well versed and spent years playing Maynard Ferguson's band, like 3 years when he was young. And so he's like I say, well versed, and that's the wonderful thing about playing in this ensemble. We all have our influences, and it makes a great mix as we play together. Like Todd, our new bass player, he's deep rooted in like Motown bass playing, so he's well versed in the style of James Jamerson, and so you know, you can call any tune, man. He's there.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Sam, I really appreciate your time today. Again, thank you very much.
Well,
so it was a pleasure.
it.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for having us on board.
And we all going to have a big time at Great Fox tonight.
This is true. Take care.